Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Churchill, the first of two 2017 films released about Winston Churchill during a moment during the Second World War where he's leadership. The following one, of course, was Darkest Hour, which I saw at the cinema last year. And you know what, I rewatched this one a few weeks ago, and you know what, I think it deserves a re-review. I think the original score was 9 out of 10 for that film, but then I think I lowered it at a later date to an 8, and it came 24th out of 26 in my 2018 film ranking. I think I'm going to have to redo the whole thing, or at least the first 3 parts, and the list at the end, re-upload part 5 with a updated list, end list. But I'll do that after I rewatch The Predator. Because I have a feeling that one might be the new least favourite, but we'll see. But at least it wasn't this, because Churchill, I didn't really like. I thought was a pretty weak film. I mean, there was some decent cinematography and some pretty decent acting, and the music by Lorne Balfe is great. But on the whole, Churchill just doesn't quite work. The story is about Winston Churchill in the final stages of preparation for the D-Day landings, but it doesn't quite work. I don't know whether Churchill himself was 100 against what they were planning during the landings. I mean, they did get some things I definitely know are true, and some things my parents know are true, as we watched it together, and same with The Darkest Hour rewatch a couple of weeks ago. And I knew that Churchill wanted to go down to lead the men on the beaches. So did King George VI now as well. But whilst Churchill offers him the chance to, he has to decline and tell Churchill not to, in a pretty good scene. I don't quite think the actor playing King George quite gets the role as much as Ben Mendelsohn, or better still, Colin Firth in The King's Speech. That's a film I'll have to review one day. That is a great film. And also with Churchill, I think Timothy Spall in that film, and also Michael Gambon in a TV film about his health during the 50s, during the 1950s. I think they're better at playing Churchill than Brian Cox. And I think I would say Gary Oldman is as well, of course. In fact, I was doing a ranking of actors of those 4, not related films, but they're just 4 ones I've seen with Winston Churchill in it. Plus throwing in McNeese from Doctor Who, I would say number 5 Brian Cox, number 4 possibly Timothy Spall or Michael Gambon. Let's say Michael Gambon, 3 Timothy Spall, 2 Gary Oldman, and number 1 Ian McNeese. Yeah, and you know, Brian Cox has some great moments as Churchill. That radio scene that I think it's the penultimate, or certainly one of the final scenes in the film, he has some great moments, and he definitely looks like a depressed Churchill in quite a few scenes. And he has some great moments where he's a bit friendly as well. Like with Oldman, he gets to play the friendly stuff really well. But on the whole, he just doesn't quite work. And the same for Miranda Richardson as Clementine. Again, I think Lindsay Duncan in that one with Michael Gambon and Kristen Scott Thomas in Darkest Hour, I think they both do better jobs. And whilst Clemmy gets a bit more of a role in this film as well, which isn't too bad, I suppose, but I think the way it's handled doesn't quite work in some places. There's a scene where they have a bit of a row, and at one point Clemmy slaps Winston. And that was a bit of a shocking scene, and that they were being really harsh on each other. And I didn't find the story engaging, and stuff with the D-Day landings that wasn't quite that engaging. Stuff with Montgomery, stuff with Eisenhower, it just felt like a bit too many bickerings. Yeah, with Darkest Hour did that as well, but there was at least it was when they didn't think Churchill was up to scratch, when they were actually attempting to sabotage, and it had a bit more of an emotional depth to that film. But this film doesn't quite do that, it's actually just a bit dull, really. It just doesn't really matter. The first 40 minutes, I just sort of say, really? We're 40 minutes into this film, but nothing's happened. Well, it's nothing of significance. I'll say this, it doesn't drag, it doesn't slog. Not for the first half, at least. Anyway, I mean, I think it does slow down after that, about halfway through, but it's just weak. It doesn't quite feel right. Like I said, cinematography is pretty okay, and Lionel Baffy has a great music score, and that radio scene was amazing. And I think Brian Cox obviously put his best performance into that scene, but overall, I just don't think this is that great. I don't think there's that much threat to the film as opposed to, well, Darkest Hour, there was a bit more of a threat, and not just the war, but other people in his cabinet. I will say this, there is this Dutch army general who we have as a main character throughout the film, and he's good. I like him. But on the whole, I think Churchill's just a weak, dull film. I think it could have been a bit better in the direction, but it doesn't quite... I don't think it quite knows what it wants to be. An epic war story, an emotional war story, or a dramatic personal story. And is it that? I mean, it has some moments where it's historically accurate, but is it completely historically accurate, or did it take some liberties in some places? I'm not sure. I'm just not sure of this one. I will say the woman who plays the secretary does a good job in a few scenes, but I think she doesn't quite get as much to do, certainly not as much as Lily James's one in Darkest Hour, where she was almost like another main character, whilst here this one just feels like another secretary. Churchill had several secretaries, let's just cast this woman as this woman and have her have a couple of emotional moments, a little bit of influence, a couple of scenes, and yeah, that'll do. But yeah, I don't think this is that much special. So overall, I'm going to give Churchill a 5 out of 10. I just don't think it's that great. I think it's okay, it's watchable, but on the whole, it's not that fun. So that's it from me. Thank you for watching. I'm going to re-review Darkest Hour on my main channel in a couple of minutes at time recording, so it will be coming out soon. And anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and here I am... Shit.